We do want to take a brief moment to reflect on a giant of the civil justice world who passed this year and left us, Victor Schwartz. Victor, as many of you know, was a leading scholar, a leading practitioner, and just a leader in reform in the civil justice community, well respected by all participants in it, judges, practitioners of all sides, plaintiff side, defense side. I think knew that Victor's commitment to quality interaction, quality discussion, and improvement of the law was first rate, and it was very sad that we lost Victor this year. One of the reasons why we wanted to spend time talking about Victor in particular at this program is that Victor was, many of you may not know, the inspiration for the Civil Justice Symposium. Victor has been around the Law and Economics Center and the law school here for a long time and been a contributor to our overall success at the outside. But he became very integrally involved in the Law and Economics Center I should say, in a companion part of the Law and Economics Center back in the late 1990s when our chairman, Henry Butler. Many of you know Henry Butler. He sends his regards and regrets for not being with us today. But Henry Butler was with Henry Manny when the law school came here in 1986, or excuse me, the LEC came here in 1986, and Henry Butler was the executive director of the Law and Economics Center for quite some time at the LEC. But then Henry went off and did different programs throughout the country, including at the AEI Brookings Center for Regulatory Studies, at Chapman University, at Northwestern University's Searle Center, as well as for a long time at the University of Kansas Law School. And that's where there's a story that we wanted to share with you about Victor and the inspiration for this program. When Henry went running different kinds of programs in economic studies throughout the country after leaving the George Mason and eventually coming back in 2010, Henry set up the Law and Organizational Economics Center at KU, which was originally a research center focused on helping businesses apply economic thinking to decision making. But after a year or so, he began expanding the activities to include the Economics Institute for State Judges, and that's when we really started seeing the growth of the number of judges that the Law and Economics Center was teaching, or at least what would become the Consolidated Law and Economics Center, because when Henry comes in 2010, he brings everything that he was doing outside of George Mason, as well as everything that was happening inside the Law and Economics Center in George Mason, and it all comes together. So we consider the work that he was doing at KU really part of our history. And when he was at KU, both his program as well as the Law and Economics Center here were regular focuses of media attention and concern about what goes on behind these walls. And out of the blue, Henry received a call from Victor Schwartz with a suggestion that the KU organize a conference that would include legal scholars as well as practitioners from both the plaintiff's bar and the defense bar to come together in a robust civil discourse on civil justice issues and to show the world and to show all sides exactly what kind of rigorous discussion the Law and Economics Center was committed to. And so our first symposium was focused on the restatement third of torts, and we have what's old is new again, or what's new is old again, however that phrase goes, and you'll see that tomorrow we do have a panel on that as well. And Victor was incredibly helpful in putting together the agenda and recruiting speakers for that program. Ultimately, that became really the first symposium of the civil justice era for the Law and Economics Center and our predecessors. And we say this is the 19th annual Civil Justice Symposium, but there have been little outgrowths of different things. At one point, our Scientific Methodology Symposium was kind of in the same vein, and we only 19 years ago sort of settled in on saying that this was a Civil Justice Symposium, but it really has its roots back in 1998. We had over 150 state appellate judges and trial judges that attended that program. The ALI reporters, James Henderson of Cornell and Aaron Chorsky of Brooklyn Law School, participated in all aspects of that original symposium. And I should mention that I had the great fortune of taking products liability from Jim Henderson at that same point in time. And we studied products liability out of our textbook was the draft restatement. So I certainly know that at that point in time, this was the hot thing to be focused on, and Victor helped us focus in on that. Richard Haley, president of the ATLA, participated in the program along with many prominent trial lawyers from around the country. Defense attorneys were equally represented, and scholars from leading law schools participated as well. The program, like today, was designed for audience participation, and that was all as a result of the conversations with Victor Schwartz, who was able to help us design those programs. Over time, we've had Victor at many of our programs across the years, and I had the great fortune of interviewing Victor for the luncheon talk back in November 2021 for this symposium as one of his last appearances here at the Civil Justice Symposium. But he was a regular in all of those programs, and we would not be here today if not for the inspiration, the guidance, the mentorship, and support of Victor. And on a personal note, I will also say that I had the good fortune of, before becoming an academic, working with a first-rate team of lawyers at Crowell and Mooring, and Victor was the head of the public policy and torts group then. I had the good fortune of working with Mark Behrens and some other folks who went over to Shook Hardy after that and on to other places. And Victor, on my last week in private practice, I will always remember Victor taking me to lunch at the National Press Club to give me guidance on entering the academic world, because as you know, he was both a professor and a dean of the Cincinnati Law School. So a very kind man who I will always remember fondly, and that his legacy will live on in this program. We've asked his partner, Mark Behrens, to say a few words about Victor's legacy and his overall contribution to this world. And so I'd like to ask Mark to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Professor. It's an honor to be here today. Good morning, everybody. I'm not going to make you rise again. But I like this. It's so big. I feel like I'm at a church pew or something. Anyway, I'm Mark Behrens, and Shook Hardy and Bacon here in Washington. And I had the privilege of working with Victor for over 35 years. He passed away in July at the age of 85, and he had still been working full-time up until his death. And as Donald said, he had a special connection to LEC. He was on the board of the Searle Center, which was absorbed into this organization and helped contribute it to make it what it is today. Those of you who knew Victor or ever saw him speak at one of these events, may have been familiar with what was really a remarkable career. He drafted with Prosser and Wade the leading torts casebook, Schwartz on Torts, that's literally I think is now in its 15th edition and has educated generations of lawyers on tort law and will continue to do so for many years. He served in government, and his work in the Department of Commerce led to one of the it was an inspiration for what became, I think, the Restatement Third on torts, something called the Model Uniform Product Liability Act. He was a distinguished professor, and what blows me away is he was dean at Cincinnati Law School in his early 30s. I mean, it's amazing. He could have quit then and had a remarkable career, but then he went on to have another 40 years in private practice, mentoring other generations, including Donald and myself, David Bernstein, who's on the faculty here, and so we seem to have a wonderful history of producing excellent academics. I got left behind, I guess. But anyway, Victor really enjoyed coming to LEC events because he loved being back in the law school setting. He loved to teach. And he came from a defense perspective, but he was also respectful of other views, and he counted many members of the plaintiff's bar as close friends. And I think this is very important. I said this I gave a eulogy for him. He never saw opponents as the enemy. They were just people with a different view. And he loved to learn as much as he liked to teach. And that's why he liked coming here, because his values were aligned with the LEC's mission about teaching, exchanging ideas, and learning, and being respectful of all sides. And he also had a tremendous respect to your commitment to learning. He understood that you're busy people, that you have lives outside the law, that you have work, you have families and friends, and many of you have traveled very long distances to come here to do better at your job. So with that, I want to welcome you to the symposium. I hope you enjoy the panels today and tomorrow and the opportunity for fellowship. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for allowing us to remember and celebrate Victor's life, and it lives on through the discourse that we will have over the next couple of days, and I'm sure that he will be proud of watching what will transpire.